Well, good evening, Canada, and good evening to everyone watching from around the world. Welcome to Late Night Scrolling Season 3. The Canadian pop culture, well, this is a podcast, but this season, Season 3, we're doing things a little bit differently. There are no late night TV shows that are made by Canadians and for Canadians, and I'm sick of it. So that's what this podcast is now. Every Thursday, I'll be here with you on YouTube and on all your podcast streaming platforms, talking about the biggest breaking pop culture news in this country and sharing interviews with all of our favorite people. And we have other shows for you to tune into throughout the week as well, breaking down everything from the Olympics and award season to whatever the internet is arguing about and all of your favorite reality TV shows. So if you want to know more about that, head over to the Late Night Scrolling Patreon and we will fill you in on everything we have coming up. But it's really too bad we're kicking off this season with nothing going on in Canadian television. They're right behind me, aren't they? There is no story we could open Season 3 with other than the globally dominant success of Heated Rivalry, the little Canadian TV show that became the #1 streaming show in the world. I'm sick of it. Not of the show, not of its success, but of everyone talking about this show like it's this little tiny success story. Tonight we're gonna set the record straight. There is a deep dive into the show itself, episode by episode, detail by detail, with my incredible producer, Alexis Blake, who helped me produce that interview you saw with Rachel Reed a few weeks ago. And it's coming to the Patreon very soon. So we will leave all the details of the show for that conversation. But tonight I want to talk about what this moment is, because y'all, these last few weeks have been a lot. We've seen everything from the stars, Hudson and Connor, presenting at the Golden Globes, attending Fashion Week, making their late night TV debuts, and now they're headed to the Olympics to be torchbearers for the Olympics. They're going to be running with the flame. I'm hoping they're not going to light some cigarettes off of it, which would be on theme with everything else they've been doing. It's madness. It's crazy. And you know what? It's about damn time. If you look at the formula for Heated Rivalry, if you actually look at what was happening, it's not surprising. Factor 1, you have Jacob Tierney getting the rights to these books from Rachel Reed himself. That is one of the details of this adaptation that I think has been totally glossed over. In the Canadian market, it doesn't get more dependable, reliable hit after hit than anything Jacob Tierney puts his name beside. That was indication 1 that this show wasn't just gonna walk, it wasn't just gonna run, it was gonna strut itself into the market and make a splash. The second piece of this equation that's really pissing me off is how underestimated the market for these books was. Because if you've been on Book Talk, if you're in the book side of the internet, you know just how badly the fans of these books wanted to see this story on the screen. And if you spent 5 minutes going down a Book Talk rabbit hole, you know how fast it just takes one video to convince an entire orbit of people that wouldn't normally venture into romance to pick up a book. I mean, just look at Akatar and Sarah J. Maas. Just look at Emily Henry and all of her adaptations coming to screen now. The last few years have been really tough for original IP. We've had a lot of sequels. We've had a lot of remakes. Why is that? Hollywood has wanted a guaranteed turnout. The thing about adapting a book in this market is that you get to take it to a studio and say, look at the numbers of the people that have already been invested in the story. Look at the amount of books we've sold. Look at the amount of pre-orders. Look at the built-in fan base that's going to watch this. In today's market, a book-to-screen adaptation is guaranteed to have a turnout. In fact, it's dominating pop culture, so why would Heated Rivalry be assumed to be literally any different? Where we get into point number 3, y'all, and I want you to really listen and buckle up for this one. It's because it's Canadian. No, why am I whispering? It's because it's Canadian. Lexi Angelo is an incredible Canadian writer and PhD candidate from the University of Edinburgh, and she's been writing extensively about the Canadianisms of Heated Rivalry, and one piece specifically. She writes about queer joy versus the Canadian utopia in Heated Rivalry. And if you haven't heard of the Canadian utopia theory, yes, you have. It's the same reason why the American market fell in love with Schitt's Creek. Letterkenny, and Kim's Convenience, and every other Canadian TV show. I love how Lexi explains what Canadian utopia is. She writes, but the Canadian utopia links directly to Canadian identity. Canadians don't ask ourselves who we are. We ask ourselves who we want to be. It's the idea that when Canadian stories are written, we write it in the best case scenario of the neighborhood, the community, the society that we want to be living in. When you look at the world right now, who doesn't want a little slice of that hope? There's a level of tolerance that Canadian utopia takes to create and share its stories that makes the idea of this world as appealing as the guys playing hockey and kissing on screen. And right now, we need worlds like that more than ever in our media consumption. It's not just the idea that these communities and neighborhoods are like a fantasy we could aspire to. That's married to this idea of queer utopia where Scott and Kip can go out on the ice and make their relationship public, and the announcers up in the booth are so excited and cheering them on, as are all the fans in the stadium. There's not a negative vibe to the situation or moment. It is pure euphoria happening. So when we look at the discourse of this little tiny Canadian TV show with no budget that made such a big impact, we have to remember the Canadian TV market has perfected this style of storytelling that has been talking about the world we all want to live in regardless of border. So yeah, it's not surprising that this show has really resonated with people. It's not surprising that people find it comforting, that over the holidays when everyone's thinking about what the next year could possibly have in store, this show felt like the escape and the reminder that we all needed of what can be. And it's all shepherded on the shoulders of these two breakout stars in Connor Story and Hudson Williams. When you look at 0 to 100 breakout stars in Canada, there have not been a lot of them over the past few years. But when I think about who could possibly understand what Connor and Hudson are going through, there are two names that come to mind. And they're both here with us tonight for this season premiere episode. When Halifax's very own Mattea Roach went on Jeopardy just 4 years ago and won like over 20 episodes, and every Canadian news station was covering it, all of TV was so fixated on this young Canadian that was totally dominating Jeopardy and having one of the biggest performances of all time. And not only that, having like the personality and the grace and the candor to really make a star of themselves, only to then have to go through something so devastating, so public at like the peak. It's one of the most compelling stories that's happened in Canadian pop culture in the past few years. And Mattea is here to tell you all about it. I'm so grateful that Mattea wanted to come on the show to talk about Heated Rivalry and talk about their experiences kind of going through the limelight. I say that not only because it's been such a joy to watch Mattea rise to where they are now, hosting one of the biggest podcasts for CBC. I've had the absolute joy and pleasure of knowing Mattea since we were kids. In this conversation, you're going to hear us reminisce about the world we came from as middle and high school debate champions. Thinking about the nostalgia of those days to the stardom Mattea finds themselves in now, and thinking about both of us finding our place in the media market as podcast hosts. It's one of my favorite interviews and one of my favorite conversations we have ever had on the podcast, and it is such a privilege to open our season with it. For everyone listening that does not know or has not figured it out, Mattea and I have our own lore that we could go decades back on, and in fact we are and we will. I found a relic of the past that I wanted to...
No. Oh my God.
2012.
One of our... that was a major moment.
Do you remember how this tournament ended?
Well, my partner and I won the junior high national finals.
And do you remember who you knocked out in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, you and Marcus.
You sure did. So, and our lore goes back even further than that, but I just remember that moment so vividly in my mind because we were the 8th of 8 teams announced, and we were like, yes, we made it. And then we saw the board and we went, nope, doesn't matter, because Mattea and Rory are the team we're going up against. And how many times have we lost to them at this point? It doesn't matter. Let's have fun. Let's have a fun time.
I feel like the semifinal was it not also a Nova Scotian team? Like, was it not Bree and somebody?
It was.
I feel like we had like a really, really strong contingent, and I think that it was just violence.
It was.
On the way up. It was violence on the come up.
And that's why we won the province of the tournament.
Yes, I think it was the first year they did the top province award.
Yes.
And we were like, we have this on lock.
Correct.
No one can match us. No one can compare. These big Ontario, British Columbia, I've never heard of them.
No, not compared to Nova Scotia. And
no, nothing compares.
And you were the heavy lifter. You and Rory were the heavy lifters of that award. Let's just say that, because you went on to win the whole thing. But those of us that were on the back end of losing to Mattea and Rory,
we don't forget
happy to be
who
there.
Helped us get there.
Exactly. We were the backs you stepped on.
Team figure skating at the Olympics, right? There's always like the second team of ice dancers that like they need to do a solid 7th place in the, in their performance.
Exactly.
But that is essential.
And we were so happy to be that for you.
It's not the team that has like the men's gold finalist that wins the team award.
Exactly. I thank you for giving us our flowers for really doing our best.
Like locate the Paul Poirier and Piper Gillies of,
yes.
of Nova Scotian junior high debate in 2012.
Oh, and that's the title of the episode. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming. No, the thing I remember most about that entire day isn't even our debate. It's a moment that stays. If someone was to ask me, what do you remember about debating with Mattea, I would say the junior national final in 2012. You and Rory were against a team that I will keep nameless from Manitoba. Mm-hmm. And it was about healthcare. And the team from Manitoba, you were second speaker on opposition. And the second speaker on the government side stood up and tried to make a point about a story that he had heard of a personal family friend going to the ER and waiting 2 hours. And how horrible is it that you go to the ER and wait 2 hours to get access to healthcare? And Mattea Roach stands up and says, I'm from Nova Scotia. You think 2 hours is a long time to wait for the emergency room? And the whole room clapped and stood up for you. And you won.
No, it's literally like a Tumblr fake story, like, and everybody clapped. I have not thought about that in probably at least 10 years.
So vivid in my mind, I could direct it in a film, Mattea. That was such an iconic Mattea moment. The second
you started telling the story, I was like, oh my God. And then one thing you mentioned in our little like prep notes for this is you were like, Mattea's side pony. This is a piece of lore. Because I used to have, which may be a shock to people who did not know me as a teenager, like I used to have super long, like waist length hair. Did not get a haircut basically until I was 15 because I was pathologically afraid that I would get a bad haircut.
And that's tea.
And that I just wouldn't know what to do. The concept that you could grow out a bad haircut, I was obviously aware of, but I just didn't think I could live through it. And so I had this mane. And when I would hit a moment like that, often what would happen would be the hair flip. Often it was a side pony. Yeah. And it's so funny because it's like reflexively I can still do it. I'll like twirl my hair. I'll be like, ooh, 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 but there's just...
It lives on.
It lives on. Yeah.
It was also the era of the Lululemon headband, which for those that weren't there to experience
I used to get in trouble sometimes at school, going to a school with a uniform, that I would be wearing the Lululemon headband that wasn't like an approved school color.
Sure. Yeah,
and I would be such a shit about it. Like, I got in fights.
The headband and the side pony is, like, how you are in my memory to this day. Sometimes I think about that.
So painfully 2012. Like, it's not a good... But, if you were ever doing... If you wanted to do a period piece about junior high school students at that time, like, that would be...
Ask Mattea for their personal photos.
That you could tell... Yeah, no, literally.
I think about those days so often now in this career, and we'll kind of come back to the middle of the story, but I want to jump to where you are today because I feel like we've had parallel but very different paths to how we got to being podcast hosts and being specifically like this Gen Z millennial cusp podcast host in Canada, which is like a very interesting...
And thank you for saying cusp, because whenever people are like, Mattea's Gen Z, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
yes,
I was born in the 90s, and we were talking about this a little bit off mic. Like, I'm quite old school in my media consumption habits. And so when people ask me to speak to the Gen Z experience, I'm often like, I'm the wrong person to ask.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I completely agree. I'm like, listen, let me call my brother. And our brothers are the same age as well. This is important.
That's exactly. Yes, and our brothers were friends growing up too, right? Exactly, yes. Right? So they have a better read on kind of what it's like. Or I have younger coworkers as well. Like, one thing that's very, very cool about my job is CBC Books is a small team. I think there are like 12-ish full-time employees. I am the 5th youngest.
Whoa. Yeah. Middle of the pack.
Which is nuts. right? Yeah, I'm basically middle of the pack despite the fact that I'm 27.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so both associate producers, digital producer, and social producer
That's
all younger
cute.
than me.
I love that.
And then we'll get sometimes PAs and stuff in who work on Canada Reads, generally also my age or younger. So I'm often somebody that's coming in and I'll have some reference of some movie I watched on Turner Classic Movies
Yes.
when I was
Yes.
in high school.
Yep.
And I'm like telling my younger coworker, who's maybe 3 years younger than me, about Judy Garland singing Clang, 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 Wet the Trolley.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, Grandma, let's get you to bed.
Stop it right now. Well, I think I also often feel, and I'm saying this and now asking you if you feel the same, when I'm in Toronto and I'm working with Gen Z folks who are not from the East Coast, and when I'm in Toronto and I'm working with Gen Z folks who are from the East Coast, the scale of references you can do with people that grew up on the East Coast goes back so much further.
Because we had less stuff.
Tea. It's so true.
Right?
And we had less to do.
Less to do. And I think that there's like, well, and we also, to be clear, like didn't have the same experience growing up on the East Coast because you were growing up in a town and I was growing up in a city.
Mattea was my city friend. Mattea was my friend that lived in Halifax. That was such a big deal.
Yeah, and it was like we would go out on the town and walk down Spring Garden Road, and that was exciting, you know?
Yes.
I think because I didn't go to a big public high school gave me a little bit of a bridge to more what your experience was like. But, you know, we didn't have like, there was no independent cinema that you could go to, right? We didn't have Sephora.
Yes.
I remember when we got Hollister in Halifax.
Oh my God. Game changing.
I remember when we got like an Urban Outfitters, like all of these things that used to be such a big deal if you went to Toronto or Montreal.
Yep.
It's hilarious that I'm even name checking these brands that like aren't cool anymore. But
No,
at
they
the
were
time,
so cool to us back then.
That was what had cachet. You saw that Hollister logo on the ass of someone's jeans and you were like, oh, they went to Montreal.
Okay, talk about a whole full circle here. I bought a new Hollister sweater to wear to debate camp in Halifax. And that was a huge purchase in my teenage life.
Major.
We didn't have to wear.
Going to the city.
We were going to the city. We didn't have to wear debate clothes. You didn't have to wear uniforms to camp. That was like, that was a big week for us.
No, it's the summer. You could like show, and again, junior high fashion, not great. But you could make choices.
Yeah, we could make
about what you were going to wear.
Exactly.
And I thought the choices at the time that I was making were fantastic.
I mean, the Facebook photo albums we have of those choices are just, I did not dig them up for this.
You know what? It's so funny speaking about generational differences. This is one where I think our cusp really shows. Because a true Gen Z would not have Facebook photo albums of anything, right?
Yeah.
But then a real millennial, it would be their college stuff that's all on Facebook.
Yes. Oh, that's so tea.
Which is, I think, in a way, perhaps worse than having the teenage stuff, depending on your outlook.
I mean, the most scandalous thing we were doing was going to the Katy Perry movie in 3D.
We were going, yes, okay. Yeah, okay, so this is going to circle back around to something that we're going to talk about later. But one of my first things, as soon as we were talking about doing this podcast, is I was like, Katy Perry's back in the zeitgeist. And do you remember when we went to see on Spring Garden Road at Park Lane Cinemas?
Shout out.
The Katy Perry Part of Me documentary, which was released during her last public breakup and new cycle of getting into an exciting new relationship.
Yes. Mattea, are we only going to hang out when Katy Perry has new relationships? We have to end the cycle now.
we have to break the cycle.
We have to break the toxic cycle our friendship has been forced into by Katy Perry's relationships. What a
You know what else I recall actually about that day is I think that we went to HMV after. And I think that might have been the first time that I bought with my own money a piece of physical music.
What was it?
Depeche Mode Violator on CD, which again, like, I'm not beating the like old man allegations.
It's so good. It's so good.
I was 13 years old. We just saw the Katy Perry movie and I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy Violator by Depeche Mode to regain some of my
autonomy
cred that only existed with my dad. Like no one else thought that was cool or interesting. Made me very cool and interesting in university. At the time it was getting me in the halls of Sacred Heart. That didn't do shit for me.
That wasn't the social capital Mattea needed back then.
No, they
Oh my
weren't like,
God.
wow, that's so cool that you want to play personal Jesus when we're just trying to listen to Starships by Nicki Minaj. And don't worry, I was also watching Glee and,
Oh,
you know,
gee.
Doctor Who and stuff.
Oh,
So
gee. Listen,
I was still tapped in.
you were tapped into the culture. It was just not that mainstream moment. Oh my God, I forgot we even had an HMV on Spring Garden. We did.
Well, because there was an HMV.
Yeah.
And the concept of there being an HMV at all is a thing of the past.
It's true.
And you'd get your posters there,
R.I.P.
right? If you wanted posters.
Bought my first One Direction t-shirt at an HMV. Like, Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau went to the World Economic Forum and hard lunched themselves.
The most romantic. And I'm actually not even joking. Like, I think if it were me, like, I would find that romantic.
Okay, can you please walk me through this whole thing?
Well, I guess, like, again, we come from these trenches of, you know, when I think about being a teenager, I didn't have a high school debationship, but being a teenager, traveling to Europe, and you're talking about serious issues.
Yeah. Hot. It's
It's
hot.
kind of glamorous.
It's kind of cunty.
And it's so funny that the hard launch tweet was Trudeau and the former Japanese prime minister, I forget his name.
Yes, I know.
But the tweet that specifically used the phrase rules-based international order, like Katie and I had such a great time discussing the rules-based international order, just in time, might I add, for Mark Carney to declare at Davos that the rules-based international order is a fiction. I immediately, after watching that speech, texted a friend of mine and I was like, and such a shame, Katy Perry was just really getting into it.
She just had her talking points ironed out in Japan before this, and
now she's got to relearn the playbook. But at the same time, like, it might be kind of like refreshing for her, right? Like, do you not think that maybe this is a nice change?
I think it's probably a nice change. I also had to really, like, check some of my own, like, I think we all work through our own levels of, like, 2015 feminism in 2026. And I think a lot about Katy Perry in that time because she was at the forefront of that whole moment.
Yes,
it was the girl
like
boss
the
of it
moment
all.
where it was like, it was considered feminist if you were like a woman and you had friends that were women. Like anything a woman did was supposed to be feminist, apparently.
Yes. So I had to tell myself a day, I was like, maybe Katy Perry does have some sophisticated foreign policy opinions. I mean, she's traveled the world endlessly to tour, right? Perhaps she's learned a thing or two that the bitch has.
She certainly has made attempts in recent years
That's a great way to put
position herself as speaking feministly.
Yeah. And
you know,
literally position herself above the world.
Woman's World, the single from 143.
Yeah.
You know?
We're lucky
She was
to be
trying.
living in it, Mattea.
You know, and it was famously Justin Trudeau who said, because it's 2015.
Yes.
So in a way, are they not actually operating in the same
frequency
register of feminism?
Mattea, we're on their track. This is exactly what we needed to unpack today about them. I also had a hot take I wanted your opinion on, or a hot theory, perhaps I'll say.
Okay.
Justin Trudeau, goes to World Economic Forum for many years as prime minister. Justin Trudeau also does not technically lose an election. He steps down. He steps down. He returns to World Economic Forum with pop star girlfriend and goes to all of his old coworkers and says, have you met international pop star Katy Perry, my girlfriend?
Yeah.
And there's just something a little bit high school reunion at the bar about the whole thing that really tickles the back of my brain.
And it's funny because it's like, he already was the prime minister. Like, he already kind of won, right? And he doesn't have to do it anymore.
Yes.
Which is like, you think how happy that guy must be that he doesn't have to be the prime minister right now?
A dream. And he's dating Katy Perry. And he gets to go to all these people and say, sounds like you guys are real stressed out about everything going on.
And then it's like so funny because he's still friends with all of the people that he was in, like, or not all, obviously, because there's some tensions within certainly, you know, various people that have been in and out of cabinet. But a lot of the Trudeau cabinet was composed of people that he went to university with.
Yes.
And people that, even if he met them later on, he obviously had very close, long-term adult working and personal relationships with.
Yes.
And so he's like still hanging out with Mary Ng,
Yes.
who still has to be a fucking cabinet minister, being like, oh, like celebrating Mary's 50th birthday, and like now I get to fuck off with Katy Perry, and she has to go back to being in Mark Carney's cabinet.
Literally. Or I'm gonna bring Katie to sing you happy birthday and just kind of stand behind her with my arms crossed, doing a little harmony.
It's actually so funny, and it's really, he is his mother's and father's son, right?
Yes, big time.
I don't think that anyone ever could have expected anything different from Justin Trudeau. I think it's so funny.
It's so funny.
We haven't talked heated rivalry yet. And I have to say, as someone who was an Ottawa resident for a brief period of time that kind of coincides with when Ottawa comes into the story, I was there a little bit before.
Yep.
But one thing that I've been really enjoying,
Tell me.
with my coworkers, especially like CBC people, is we're just thinking about how does this intersect with like things that were happening in the news more broadly
Yes.
during the events of heated rivalry.
Yes.
So I was talking with my boss the other day about, we want to know, well, David Hollander's working at the Treasury Board when Mark Carney is the governor of the Bank of Canada.
This is what I'm talking about, Mattea.
What cabinet ministers was David Hollander at McGill with?
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's got to be one. There's
Yep.
got, because he's too old canonically to have been with the Trudeau cohort.
Yes.
But like, did he know? No, Dominic LeBlanc actually went to my alma mater, Trinity College.
Oh my god.
So wouldn't have been with Dominic LeBlanc, but like,
Mhm.
who could he have known at McGill? The fact that in the books, when the Shane and Ilya romance kind of progresses, Trudeau would have been the prime minister. Imagine being in the PMO and having to like cook up tweets about the gay hockey players. The love is love posting that would have happened if like in real, like it would have been insane.
Yep. I saw a post the other day that was like, Ilya would have been the first to endorse Justin Trudeau, trying to get his citizenship in the country, trying to like, you know, how
No,
he
it's the way that Tarek Haddad was everywhere.
Yes.
That would have been Ilya Rozanov, would have been like, our poor political refugee.
Yes. Literally quite
Such a good Canadian. He's a hockey player. He's contributing to the community.
Yeah.
He even moved to Ottawa for love. Like,
Yeah. And how great is Canada as a
Tarek
refugee
Haddad's lunch
state
would have
for the
been
queers? Like, it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my god.
yeah.
Ilya really dodged a bullet not living in that age where although maybe he would have loved it. Maybe
Yeah,
he would have
I
loved
love
it.
it where like the fictional character really dodged a bullet by not having to be woke propaganda for
Justin Trudeau in 2016.
No, instead the real actors have to contend with 2026.
And we can talk about that. I will say, do I now want to write a fan fiction about Ilya being a Justin Trudeau propaganda tool? Perhaps check AO3 in a few days.
Well, or I think that, I don't know, or like, would he have conflicted feelings about it, right? Because it's like, you go from being a propaganda tool of you're like the Russian junior champion,
Yeah.
and your dad is like a prominent
Yeah.
cop, and like you're being trotted out to all these galas in Russia. Like, do you think necessarily a person who's grown up in that environment like feels great about just being instrumentalized in the opposite direction?
Yeah.
I don't probably think so.
That's a really good take. And there's the conflict of our story, Mattea. You're now a co-author on this with me, and people
Yeah.
can go to Patreon.
We're building out the extended universe.
I love it. I love it. I do think.
I hate how much I've thought about this in depth.
How much have you thought about this in depth, to be honest? Since first week of December when episode 1 came out to now, how has your heated rivalry brain space developed?
I have been quite like abashed and embarrassed at how much it's consumed, because I am not a romance novel reader at all.
Okay.
I would never, if not forced to for work, literally never spend my time voluntarily reading a romance novel. It is just not what I crave.
Yeah.
I think that all of the things that people say they like about romance, of they want that comfort and they want that escapism, is exactly what I do not really want in a book.
100%.
I want to read a book and feel like it helps me understand something about like my real life, and often I want to see some aspect of my problems reflected back to me. And so therefore romance is like what people go to when they want literally the opposite of what I just said.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I kind of have a problem with people who exclusively consume
Yes.
romance and comfort content.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that it can lead you to not seek out challenging and profoundly meaningful artistic experiences.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need to turn your brain off. I watch Selling Sunset, right? I'm not immune to a little turn the brain off.
Mm-hmm.
Do I analyze sometimes and critique as well? Yes, but sometimes you just need to kind of like let those women's arguments and their burrata salad lunches wash over you.
Absolutely.
So I really like, I'm not coming at this from a place of like you always need to be thinking all the time, but I'm somebody that I have a really hard time turning my brain off. And so therefore, rather than trying to trick myself into lulled submission, I just want to keep busy and I want to keep thinking about things. And so I've found it like historically quite troubling that there are people that like only read books like Heated Rivalry, right? Like I'm like, how do you even do that? Like, do you not get so bored?
Yeah, I think to your point too, it's like what we're seeing right now with Heated Rivalry fans going so deep into places of analysis that feel to the point of parasocial and overextending themselves.
There's a craving to analyze, right? So then it's like, okay, this is actually great. Like you're trying to apply some tools of textual analysis.
Yes.
I don't say this at all to disparage the work. Rachel Reed will say herself, and I'm not like speaking on it. You've like actually interviewed her and talked to her and like queened out with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hockey smut. Like there's themes, and we're getting at like, you know, the broader political context and stuff. And like one thing I want to talk about is like my emotional experience as a television viewer, because everything that I was just saying about like I go to art to make me think about my own life. The reason why Heated Rivalry actually has consumed me in a profound way is because accidentally it did make me think about my own life in a way that I wasn't prepared for. And I think that is like why a lot of people are responding to it, right? It's like you have this story that's like so specific, and yet there are certain universal emotional truths behind it that people can then like project their own experience onto in some way, right?
100%.
For me, what it was, and sorry, this is like a lot of me monologue.
Please, Mattea, that's why you're here.
Had a very, very specific experience that really parallels Ilya's emotional arc in episode 5, which is that my father died while I was shooting Jeopardy. And I was in the middle of like defining the relationship with somebody that I was really interested in at the time, gay, obviously. And it was really complicated to figure out, like, I have these two things going on at the same time that are completely different emotional tones. Obviously, the stakes for me of being in a gay relationship are not like I'm a closeted professional hockey player, but there was an element of like, what do I do? Like, I'm kind of a public facing person. Like, I'm in the middle of taping television right now. And the whole thing of like, you know, when it's like, oh, Rosanoff didn't travel with the team to Nashville, and there's this like weird media blackout around what happened. Like that happened to me with my dad.
Yeah.
And then it got reported. It was like in the New York Post that my dad died. Like it was in the news. Like people posted his obituary on Reddit. It was like super fucked up. And then I had to go back and finish shooting Jeopardy. Yeah. So it's such a like crazy thing to live through. And I have spoken to like one or two people ever in my life that have gone through something similar. I'll bump it up. Maybe like three or four.
Yeah.
Not many. And so to be sitting in my house and like watching this unfold on television again, like a story that is like in so many ways completely not like anything I've lived through, but eerily specific in other ways. I was like really, really overwhelmed. And like it, like that to me, whatever you want to say about like romance novels being schlocky, romance TV being schlocky, like it is. But like I had a very profound and meaningful emotional experience, and that's great. And what I would encourage people who are fans of Heated Rivalry to do is like watch a fucking art film.
Yeah.
And if you're having profound emotional experiences like what I just described watching this television show, like you can go watch some stuff that's challenging.
Yeah.
Hudson Williams' Connor Story seemed to have really good taste in film.
Yes, and Hudson has
shit that
given
they're
some
talking
art
about-
house takes that he's been trying to
Queer,
get out.
Luca Guadagnino, a film that both of them have talked about in interviews,
So good.
was my top film of 2024. Also a movie that I had like an incredibly moving experience.
Yeah. God, that film is like
I'll say this because we're friends and like you're not gonna like clip this and like you can keep this in the pod obviously. There is a song used in the score to Queer that actually my last message with my dad before he passed was about that song. And my dad died like unexpectedly. I didn't know. It wasn't like planned out. It wasn't planned out. He had a brain aneurysm. No, but like, you know,
I know what
if
you
you have a family member who's like ill or something, like you might know, oh, this
Yeah.
is the last time I'm getting to talk to them. It was just like we were DMing.
Yeah.
And so that song, Leave Me Alone by New Order, is used in the middle of Queer. It's like 2.5 minutes. It plays uninterrupted. And I did not know it was in the soundtrack before going to see the film.
Oh my God.
And it is at like an incredibly emotionally tense moment. The way that Luca uses it is
stunning.
really insane. It's so stunning. Heated Rivalry fans, like go watch. You're not afraid of a little sucking and fucking on your movie screen. You're not afraid of gay sex. Go watch this film.
I think to your point though, it sounds to me, if I'm hearing you right, like maybe stepping into the romance show. A lot of people are stepping into it and like watching it and engaging with it because it's like this hot topic, right? But it sounds like the genre itself was a departure, a challenge, not in a hard way, but in a different way, maybe for you to like jump in and be like, I'm actually going to get simply with this. And I think that's the opportunity Heated Rivalry fans have right now to go anywhere else and explore the way you did.
Exactly. Right? What I'm describing of like me having to put aside some kind of, I don't even want to call them biases, but like preconceptions, I guess.
Yeah.
Not all entirely inaccurate about what romance is as a genre, right? Like it is tropey. Like that's the point. I know I don't often like it. You know, leaving that aside and being like, okay, can I meet this art on the terms that it wants to be met at, right? I think a lot of people that are primarily romance readers, fan fiction stan community, you know, I would say this about not just like film watchers, like book readers. I also say this about music, right? Like it is always good to challenge yourself and consume something that's like a little bit maybe more complicated than you might ordinarily gravitate towards, or like something that's, for me, right, like outside your comfort zone genre wise, right? One thing that I love about my job working at CBC is like on the books team, there are people that have a really deep knowledge of and respect for romance. I am not one of them. If someone brings a romance novel to me, I know it's because they've really thought about it and they're coming to me saying, look, I know you don't want to read like 12 books like this, but this one is worth your time and I'm going to tell you why.
I love that.
Like, I'm so lucky to have...
I love that.
Both at work and outside of work. Like, people I really trust their recommendations and, like, I know it's going to be a home run.
So I have a question based on what you just said. You said something that was really interesting to me. What are the terms that you would like your art to be met with?
Ooh, that's a good question. So are we calling podcasting an art?
I think so.
Okay. You know, that's a really good question. I think that I'm in an interesting space in that what I produce at the CBC is both a radio show and a podcast.
Yeah.
And those are not the same thing, and those do not have the same audience. And one thing that I kind of wish I could put across to radio audiences, and I grew up on radio, right? I'm a public radio listener. There's something about getting in your car and you just turn the dial to, I still always want to say 90.5, even though I've been living in Toronto for 10 years.
Oh my God.
I don't own a car here, right? So 90.5 for me, that's CBC Halifax, right? Information morning every day going to school. I listened to Don Connolly, Louise Renault. That was like the Bible to me, right? Like I have such reverence and respect for public radio. But people have a certain notion of what a voice on public radio needs to sound like.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's a little stuck in the past where people are like, why can't everything be like Peter Gazowski?
Yeah.
Peter Gazowski retired from the CBC before I was born.
Yeah.
It would be fucking weird if I sounded remotely like what he sounded like.
Yeah.
That is not a name even, because there are broadcasters who had like retired before I was born or that I didn't grow up with. Like Knowlton Nash is like a TV news host, for instance. It's like a name that I knew growing up. Brent Bambury, who is still at the CBC, was my dad's favorite music host.
Yeah.
And so I grew up like that name was said with like an immense reverence and respect in my household. And to get to meet Brent, and I literally work around the corner from now,
nice.
like, it was really special to me and one of the most like meaningful things about starting at the CBC.
Yeah.
That I got to overlap with someone that was like my dad's icon.
Yeah.
But like, look, I'm not going to be Peter Gazowski, right? So I think you have to meet radio hosts, podcast hosts on the terms of what they are putting forth.
I love that.
And if that is a conversational show, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
If I was reading the news, I would not speak how I'm talking to you now, Liz, right? Because that would be crazy. But it would equally be crazy if we're sitting here talking about heated rivalry and talking about 2015 feminism, Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau running back the playbook. If I said, and at Davos, Justin Trudeau hard launched his relationship with Katy Perry in a tweet that included the phrase rules-based international order. Like, it would be weird.
No.
It would be odd for us to speak that way together. And that's kind of all I want to say. There's sometimes this notion I think that people have listening to younger voices in broadcasting.
Yes.
Where they think that because you're not doing it the old way, it's like, oh, no one's told you, no one's trained you, you're incapable of doing it that way. I have been thinking very carefully about how I speak for more than half my life. It is the single thing that I'm best at in the world. I'm always looking for ways to improve. I'm always looking for ways to get an edge. The notion that I don't talk like Barbara Frum because it's never occurred to me that it might be a good idea is insane.
Yeah. No one has thought about their voice, their sound, their tone, their words, their structure, the way that the synapses in your brain go from a thought to something that you're putting out into the world more than you have.
And I'm not even the best at it, right? Like, neither in the world of debate, nor in the world of my profession. Like, this is the thing. Like, I know I've not been in the game for that long. That was another thing that was interesting about starting at the CBC, right? Is like, I was coming in on the heels of the retirement of two extremely long-running books hosts. And so it would have been psychotic and delusional.
Oh my God.
For me to try and do exactly what Eleanor Wachtel was doing. And that was the program that I was, I'm doing air quotes, like replacing, right? When she had been doing that program for 33 years, again, longer than my entire life, had previous, a decade plus of experience before Writers and Company going on the air.
I also think, to your credit,
it would have been ludicrous to expect it to be the same, right? Like why would you even expect the same product? Like, I understand there's a disappointment, of course. Like, I have had this experience as a radio listener as well. Like, when Don Connolly retired from Information Morning, I was like, I'm going to miss Don. Who's going to be that comforting presence, right? Like, I get it, right? I think a lot of us that come to media in various forms, it comes from a deep love, right?
And I think just in the way that we love those people and those voices, in time, people need to also learn that you have your own paintbrush to like build your voice, your brand, your shows.
And people do, and that's the other thing, right? Like, I'm talking about this like as though it's all kind of like, oh, like old guard, whatever. Some of the most gratifying emails that I've gotten are from people that are what I would call kind of traditional radio listeners, people like my mom's age, right?
I love that.
And actually, like, the most meaningful is, in fact, when it's people from back home, like, that I know, right? It's like my aunts or my dad's friends from growing up in New Waterford and stuff like that, where they'll say, you know what? I was looking forward to your Louise Penny interview, but, you're also talking to this debut novelist who has, I don't know, like, what's the thing that's coming to mind? Jinu Park, Oxford Soju Club, spy thriller about North Korean double agents. Like, you know, is my aunt gonna pick that up for no reason? No, but if it's on my show, like, maybe that gets you thinking, right? So that's always the most gratifying, is when people have those moments of like, you know what? I heard about this on the radio. It seems interesting. Maybe I'm going to look for that at the library. Yeah. And I'm going to do that, again, stepping out of the comfort zone. That is like what makes my job worthwhile.
What can people look forward to on the show next, Mattea? What do you have coming up?
We've got Connor Kerr, the great, you know, Alberta Métis novelist and poet. He's coming up. I had a really good chat with him. We have, I mean, right now there's like so much Canada Reads content, which is not my beat per se. But all of those shortlisted titles and panelists just got announced. So if you're looking for things to read, like, those titles, get those under your belt between now and April so you can follow along with the show if that's something that you're into. Yeah. If you like debates, you know, that's a literary debate. It's also like Survivor because they vote books off every day. Very exciting.
Yep.
What else have we got? We've got Carla Ciccone, who wrote this amazing memoir about being basically like growing up as a girl with ADHD in kind of like late 80s into the 90s and then getting that adult ADHD diagnosis. I think a lot of people probably that are in the target audience of your podcast, not to podcast, I would imagine some of those girlies are listeners and viewers.
Absolutely.
So Nowhere Girl was the name of that memoir. My conversation with her coming up pretty soon. So that's things to look forward to. And I mean, follow Bookends like wherever podcasts are found. And we will tell you who's on the show. You'll get a little notification. Or if you're driving around in your car, 99.1 in Toronto, 90.5 in Halifax. I'm on 1 p.m., 1:30 in Newfoundland on Sundays and Wednesdays.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm getting in my car. I'm driving around and I'm listening to you tell me about books to read, Mattea. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Now, what if I told you there was a full extended conversation with Mattea for you on the Patreon? We talked for a long time. So if you want to hear more about Mattea's story, all of Mattea's thoughts on things from geopolitical events to our high school debate memories, which get more and more funny as we get through the episode, make sure to head over to Patreon. I did say there were 2 names. And in fact, the second person that came to mind for me is also here. The moment that I first saw Vic Michaelis do comedy, I knew that Canada had not just a rising star on our hands, someone that would have a monumental impact on the way we think about talk show comedy in this country. Vic has been so generous to me over the years. They were one of the first guests to ever come on the podcast back when it wasn't even called Late Night Scrolling, and they've been here every season of the show to talk about all the projects they've been working on. And right now, Vic is one of the most booked and busy people in Hollywood, representing Canada so well in Peacock's hit show Ponies, streaming now and in Canada on StackTV. Of course, on Dropout, on Vic's very own show that you have heard me talk extensively with Vic about over the years. Very important people, where comedians come on and do a full transformation into costume and sit down for an improvised interview with the character host Vic. If that wasn't enough, Vic is making their debut in the Dome on this season of Dimension 20. Yes, the Dimension 20 that sold out Madison Square Garden and is touring around the world. Vic has joined the cast for this season of Dimension 20 GLADLANDS, and we talk about that as well. The most booked and busy person I know. I have to start by giving you your flowers, first and foremost. Did you see what Collider published about you?
I did, because Nicole read it to me, who's on this call right now. It was very, very kind.
Scene stealer Vic Michaelis. That's what they're saying about you. That is in the printed press.
I'm turning red. Do you see this, Liz? I'm turning red through my tinted sunscreen.
Not through the tinted sunscreen. Not through the tinted sunscreen. Scene stealer, not surprising to anyone that's watched you do literally anything ever. Of course. But what you have done in Ponies, I'm terrified of Cheryl. She is the most terrifying person I've ever seen. Congratulations. You really ate it up.
I so deeply appreciate that. It was so fun. It literally was a dream role. I'm
Yeah.
like, to get to, and I didn't know until, because the turnaround on it was so fast. I booked the show and then within a week was moved out of my place in LA on a plane. Like we were on that
Yeah.
Dropout live tour.
Yeah.
Was had my suitcase from that, was on a plane to Hungary from there. It was so fast.
Quick.
And I got the scripts as I was getting on the plane, was reading them on the flight over. And so I get to episode 8 over the ocean
Oh my
and
God.
scream. I gasp and and you can't do that on planes. And so people were mad, people were upset. But I immediately texted David and Susanna and was like, "It's me," and they were like, "It's you."
Yeah, it's you. My God. I mean, it's a dream. There was no better person to do it because I think that the thing about Cheryl that as soon as we locked in on episode 1 and we saw that opening scene where you're at the party doing the engagement back and forth bit, I went, this is Vic's bag. You were so in your bag of why we are all so obsessed with the way that you perform. Like it was just,
That's
who else
so
could have done that?
kind.
Can you address the rumors that
Yes.
you learning Russian for this role is just a setup for getting you in Heated Rivalry season 2?
If that gets me in the door, then yes, absolutely.
Do you know you've been fan cast in season 2?
By me, I fan cast myself in it.
Okay, who do you see yourself as before I tell you who the internet wants you to be?
I see myself as Ilya.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. Okay, great.
Yeah, they're recasting.
Yeah, I love it. That's perfect. And Connor can kind of come in as your stunt double. I think that's excellent.
I think, yeah, as my stunt and my butt double, I think is a perfect situation.
No, it's perfect. Jacob is gonna take that and just go, Liz, take down the interview. Actually, we can't let the people know.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But what are you hearing? What are you hearing? Tell me.
So Ilya has a therapist in the second book who speaks Russian and English. And
How
I've
much
heard some
Russian?
people say, hey, I know
How much
someone.
Russian?
Well, if he can learn it in
Is
a
it
few
sort of
weeks with
like
a dialect coach.
speaks Russian and English, but the therapist sort of, and the therapist knows, so is maybe speaking English in like a way that you would say things in Russian, but mostly is speaking English.
I feel like this is the kind of detail that can be open to interpretation with the right
Yeah,
actor.
and so that's how I think it's going to be interpreted.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is how it's going to be interpreted because I think the role is yours, and I think we're gonna book this for you quite quickly.
I think anybody that's worked with me on any of my Russian would say that I speak perfect Russian, and there was actually no notes at all. I sort of I have a photographic memory, but only for Russian.
It's like a kind of a secret skill you have. One of the many
Kind of a secret
tools in your
skill.
back pocket. There's like improv. There's now D&D, and then
D&D.
there's Russian.
Yeah. I'm kind of like a triple threat. I can't really read very well. I can't really sing very well, but I can talk really fast. So I'm a triple
And-
threat.
Everyone's watching videos in 2 times speed now, so I mean, I think that's just an asset.
And there you go. It's like, because, constantly, this is like behind the curtain, a little thing in film and TV is, they always have extra pages and they're like, we need to cut this down to be 50 minutes. And so it's kind of
Not
the
with
secret is
Vic.
if you don't want to it's like if you want to make something cheaper, you film it in Canada or in Europe. And if you want to make something shorter, you just have me do the dialogue.
And that's a pitch if I ever heard it, actually. I think that's exactly what, hey, how's your CBC original show going? Where are we in development with your Edmonton oil field comedy troupe?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm working on this. I legitimately am.
Okay, great.
I sort of you gave me a lot of confidence to go I think I should do it. And then honestly, that has been the really exciting part about seeing the success of Heated Rivalry. I mean, we all know how special a lot of the Canadian originals are and how cool it is and how I think it's a place that's one of the few places that I know of that's really actively trying to, support is still has some funding for arts and is trying to support artists and trying to support Canadian artists doing stuff. And it was so exciting to see a Crave original also hit #1 on HBO. I'm that's never
Crazy.
happened before, ever. And I'm
Crazy.
I was doing a podcast. Did Andy Richter's podcast,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien came up the stairs. So I got to meet him for the first time.
Oh my
And
God.
what am I talking to him about? I'm screaming to him about how Heated Rivalry is this conversation that we're having right now. I'm like, it's so exciting. And he's like, for sure, have a great one. It was so nice meeting you.
I love that is the Conan Vic crossover that now the universe has in its back pocket, is Conan and Vic bonding over Heated Rivalry. I'm obsessed with that for you, actually.
There's a restraining order in the works, I'm sure.
Conan O'Brien does not need Vic Michaelis as a friend. That's the new season of his podcast coming.
Yeah. Legally, Conan O'Brien and Vic Michaelis can't be friends.
I love that. I think, that sounds like an HBO original as well. I'm ready for it.
There we go.
I'm ready for it.
That's on CBC Gem.
Okay, learning Russian, going in the dome. What's scarier?
Going in the dome, hands down.
Really? I've heard you say this, but I need you to unpack it for me. Why is it so terrifying?
It's the weight of expectation. I am not a native Russian speaker. I've never tried to speak Russian. And so people just kind of go like, oh, well, Vic tried, and also you have a lot of ADR. Going in the dome is kind of one of those things where, like, you would think that there's not a wrong way to play D&D or do improv, but boy, oh boy, will folks let you know that you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean?
I would know a thing about that, yeah.
It is, I think, the process of actually doing it, it's just something that, like, I feel like, even though I am somebody that, like, didn't do very well in traditional schooling, especially in comedy, I study it. I'm a student of comedy first and foremost. I'm very academic about it. I like knowing all of the rules. That way I can throw it out the window and do the work. This, I feel like I know like, it feels like I'm actively, like, learning a different language as I'm, like, trying to play. And it really was after the first day of filming that all of a sudden I was like, oh, we're telling a story. Like, it's like Brennan is, like, building the tower as we're climbing up the stairs. It was like, it was so fun to do. It was, like, truly, like, one of the more artistically satisfying things I've done in a minute. It really was so lovely. I would recommend. And then it also, but it's so scary that it getting released out to people. It's like, then all of a sudden it's not yours anymore. It's like you're just sending it off into the universe and people can have opinions about it. And that is scary.
That is scary. You do know what it feels like, though, to have the Dropout fans catch kind of what you've created. Season 3 of Very Important People. I mean, Vic, what do I even say about what you've done? This is insane. Where do we start?
I'm going to apologize for the babies. I'm gonna say sorry for the babies. I don't know. Listen, I don't know. You also kind of see something on a storyboard and you know what the idea is and you're kind of like, oh yeah, for sure. Like, babies. Brendan had a diaper on the entire time. We didn't see it once. It never came up. That entire episode, and I think maybe speaks to where Brendan's head was at and where his character was at. He was wearing a diaper the entire time that we just never got to.
But you know who did get to it was Tony Hawk. I think that was kind of the karmic universal moment of making those two look that way, was that Tony Hawk had to beat them looking like that.
I did have a thought where I was like, I think Tony Hawk has to be maybe one of the most famous people I've ever seen in person.
I mean, I don't think it gets bigger than him. Yeah.
When you think about, like, the games and, like, how I think, like, you go to any country, everybody would be like, yeah, Tony Hawk.
Truly.
I'm like,
truly.
And there you go.
And he's on the set of Very Important People.
Do you have somebody that you would be like, if I met them in person, I would be, like, weirdly starstruck?
It was Lisa Gilroy, and I barely survived that moment.
Yeah. Oh, you did it flawlessly. It was so wonderful. That clip of you asking about Double Howl on the carpet, it was wonderful.
Has Jacob recovered from meeting Tony Hawk looking like that? Or is he, I know he got to meet Tony with his eyes open. So, like, that was I'm glad that happened for him, but is there still feelings there?
I think I kind of recently asked him about it, and he did describe it as the most fucked up thing that's ever happened to him. But I don't know if that still stands.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't know if that. It seems to be kind of a recurring thing on Dropout for Jacob specifically. Like, it happened to all of us with the pig, but now again with Tony Hawk, I'm like, it does seem to be like sort of a recurring thing of finding things that mean a lot to Jacob, and then going, actually, you can't look at this. You can be in the same space, but you can't look. It's a real, what is it? Eurydice and
yes. Yes. And I know exactly what you mean. And as the president of Dropout, you have no plans of changing that. This is all part of your mandate, is to just keep that going.
We're ramping it up. I feel pretty strongly that we're doubling down. We're sort of like we're gonna start with big things, and then we're gonna go, what if we made it smaller, just everyday luxuries or everyday joys that he has, and then put him in a room with him and say, you can't look at this.
Perfect.
We're gonna sort of our plan is to sort of slowly drive him insane.
That's great. That's what Sam's been doing to you for years. So I feel like it's just on for the course.
Yeah. I think it's going to be good for content.
I love it. I try not to ask too much about what's happening behind the scenes, but I have to ask you, what the fuck happened at the holiday party where everyone was dressed as host Vic Michaelis as the president of Dropout?
What do you mean?
What are you talking about? What do you mean? Okay, yeah, we didn't see that. We didn't see all those photos on Instagram of everybody looking like they were the president of Dropout. No.
I literally don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Everybody dressed like me? With a sash?
There were sashes. There was maybe some wigs. I don't know. Huh. All right.
No comments. You said?
No comments. No comment.
Everybody was in suits?
Maybe.
Is that what you said?
I saw a photo or two. Maybe a video.
So weird.
That's so weird.
And one of the Vics gave a speech? Is that what you said?
At least
and there
one.
were prizes with my face on it? I don't know. I literally don't know what you're talking about. That's so crazy. That's
It's iconic. It's iconic. I think more President Michaelis, long may they reign, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Amazing,
They're really worried
incredible.
about getting taken out, I think. Gotta keep people guessing.
I can't. I have a game for you.
Please. Oh, I'm
game
dying
for
to play
you.
a game.
This is very important ponies, where we have rounded up the most important ponies of the internet. And as the president of Dropout, you get to state your case about them. If you like them, if you dislike them, what your take is on them.
Great.
Okay, pony one. This is a pony that wakes kids up from surgery by playing a keyboard very loudly.
Bad. Hate it.
Horrifying,
Hate it.
right?
That's so bad. Horrifying. Let the kids sleep. And that's not, I think we're using the word playing liberally. That is sort of smashing your face. If I did that, people would be so mad at me. If I did that at one of those pianos that they have at the airport and is like, anybody can play, I would be getting kicked out of the airport. And so what? The pony gets a pass because it's a small horse? I don't think so.
I'm so glad to have your take on that. I truly think that's one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in my life. Just imagine waking up from surgery to a horse at your bedside.
I think I died. If that is what I woke up to, I'd be like, oh, I died. And I went to hell.
That didn't go well. I'd gone to double hell on WestJet. Exactly.
That's it.
What do you think of this horse?
Oh, is that one of the Lunar New Year horses?
This is a Lunar New Year horse. A Chinese factory had a production error. They were all supposed to smile, but they made thousands that frown. And now they're one of the most viral things happening in China right now.
Okay. I didn't even see that as a frown. I thought it was sort of like a nose ridge. But now that I know that it's frowning, I think I like it even better. I think that kind of is the energy going into this year. And so I actually think sometimes a mistake is a gift. And I think that's the universe sort of righting a wrong, because that horse shouldn't have been smiling. It should have been frowning.
Okay, all of China agrees with you. That's exactly how people feel about it. So I love.
Correct. Thank God.
He can stay. What do you think about
Spirit?
this horse?
Yes. I feel yes. Oh my God. My cousin Teresa was obsessed with Spirit. For 2 years in a row, we had Spirit birthday parties for her. Teresa Simon, shout out. This horse holds a special place in my heart. I think she was this was sort of like her first crush, was this horse. And so, and it holds a very special place in my heart. Love you, Spirit.
A canon event, I fear,
Canon
is having
event.
a crush on Spirit. Incredible. A very
That's
important
true.
horse. What do you think of these horses?
No, absolutely not. Human eyes. How are we doing our hair, folks? Didn't realize we could braid and have a curling iron with the hooves there. I don't think so. And they're all horses and then one unicorn?
These are the first look at the live action My Little Pony movie from Amazon, MGM, and Hasbro.
Have they cast that already?
Unclear.
Okay, if they haven't, then, it's great. And I think I love the idea that, I've always wanted to be a horse. And I think it, is one of those things where I would love to hear more about that project. And I'm really excited for what the team is putting together. And I can't wait. And they're beautiful. I actually think probably their hair they were just born with a braid.
I also like the 1 second from the left is kind of giving like trans pride flag color scheme. So I just feel like we've got representation in the
And there we
My Little
go.
Ponies,
So
and it's
if it's uncast, love it. I love it. And if it's not cast, I think it's the most terrifying thing I've ever
we can
seen. maybe.
revisit. What about little Sebastian from Parks and Rec?
Yeah, I love it. That's a beautiful pony. I don't think I've ever seen the pony. I like kind of that the little Sebastian has sort of like witch hair. You know what I mean? Like when you see sort of like a friendly witch
Yep.
in a cabin in the woods, and at first maybe the kids think that the witch is evil, and then they go and knock on her door, and it's like, oh no, she just is sort of like a hippie who smokes weed, and so everybody thought that she was a witch, but actually she's pretty cool. And she does do spells, but she doesn't know if they do anything.
And that's exactly what happens on Parks and Rec. You've nailed it perfectly. Yes, that is exactly the
That
plot of Little
point
Sebastian.
on Parks and Rec.
What about the horses that live on Sable Island? Do you know about Sable Island, Vic?
No.
Okay, Sable Island is an island off the coast of Nova Scotia. You can only get there by helicopter, and it's a wild horse sanctuary.
Oh my God. But people go visit?
You can go visit, and there's scientists that live there year round, and you can go visit.
Okay, this is gonna be my most controversial one. Pass.
Pass on the Sable Island horses.
Pass
love
on the
it.
Sable Island horses. I'm sorry. Pass. Want to know
Pass.
why? It's because I don't want to give them any attention because I think they should be left alone.
Ugh,
And they don't
love
care.
that.
They don't want it. They don't.
No.
They don't care about being important.
They're good.
They just want
They're
to be
good.
horses. You know, they don't want to. They don't want to be TikTok famous, and I love that for them. And for that reason, it
Perfect.
is a pass.
Perfect. And this is a horse that appeared on Dimension 20. This is one of Reika's horses from the 7. I believe this one is Cinnamon.
Cinnamon. Cinnamon was also my aunt really badly wanted a horse when she was little, and instead she got the ugliest bike she'd ever seen, and she named it Cinnamon. And for that reason, and kind of that reason alone, it's going to be a thumbs up for me. This is a very important horse.
Perfect. I'm so happy to hear that. And oh no, what's this? Vic Michaelis, you are the first and only person to appear on all 3 seasons of Late Night Scrolling. So you are now in the Guest Hat Trick Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Love when we took that picture together too. We were
My
so
favorite
happy.
picture of
I was
us.
like, Liz, what are you doing here? You came to New York, and you were like, yeah, I hopped on a flight.
I wouldn't have missed it.
Man.
I wouldn't have missed it.
This is an honor. This is an absolute honor. I want to say go Scepters, and cheers to 3 to 7 more seasons until you're too famous,
Amen.
and too busy to be doing this, and you end up doing something else.
I adore you. Congratulations on 3 shows streaming right now and another appearance with us here on Late Night Scrolling. Come back for season 4, please.
Oh,
We
I can't
beg.
wait. Anytime. I feel like, again, we're just scratching the surface.
I want to thank Vic and Mattea for joining us for our season premiere, and I want to thank all of you. My promise to you is that all season long, I will give you more recommendations of shows and film and music to tap into. We have so much coming up, including on our 2 new shows, the Scrolling series and this week's reality. On this week's reality, we'll be talking about every reality TV show that we're loving. And we're kicking things off with the biggest lineup we possibly could. We're catching up with the finalists and winners from Canada's Drag Race and Project Runway Canada. I'm so excited for you to hear from all of them. And on the Scrolling series, we're going to talk about Heated Rivalry. We're going to go behind the scenes of award shows. We have interviews with Olympians coming up. And of course, I have some surprises up my sleeve. So stay tuned for more on that. We'll see you next week on Late Night Scrolling Canada. Bye, y'all. Next week, it's the Apocalypse Special featuring the cast of Fallout Season 2, including Walton Goggins, Kyle MacLachlan, Annabelle O'Hagan, and Frances Turner, and the cast of Dimension 20 Gladlands, Oscar Montoya, and Jacob Wysocki. See you next Thursday.